Um, I would like to ask at this time for Mr. Tipicani, if you would, please give us a prayer to open our meeting.
You know, it's wonderful to always begin a meeting with acknowledgement of our great Father. Ta'apua, I'd say ta'apua tua. When you recognize him to begin with in anything, like this special meeting, he will hear us, and we should be praising and honoring him. And I say if we praise and honor him through prayer and just acknowledgement, great blessings come to us. And there's no greater time, I would say, that the Numina need to hear from the Lord and to respond in praise and honor of him. It's now. Shall we bow our heads in prayer? Ta'apua, ta'apua, tua. We say, come to this house. Come in our midst. Bring the Holy Spirit to us, Father. Give us wisdom and knowledge as we proceed. How we thank you that we have this meeting, and fill us with the joy that you bring, the love that we can show to each other as brothers and sisters in this nation. Father, bring all the goodness to us. We need that. Take away all this meanness and bad feelings and hardships to people. Take them away, Father. Bring us close to you so that we have your blessing. This we ask at this time. Now fill us through the balance of this day with your blessings through the Holy Spirit. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Tipicani. At this time, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda. In our books here, it says resolutions are first, but on the paper agenda, it had the budget talks first. So at this time, I would like to make a motion to amend our agenda to deal with the resolutions first, because it's imperative to the operation of our tribe.
Got a second?
We have a second. And what we'll do is we'll have a vote. All you have to do is stay seated and just put your hand in the air with your wristband on the arm that you put your arm up that has a wristband on it so they can count you. That's all we're going to do at this time. Thank you. I appreciate your cooperation.
Call Sandra.
Election board, are we ready? Please take a seat if you want your vote to count. We would appreciate your cooperation. Thank you. All those in favor of amending the agenda to put the resolutions first, please raise your hand with your wristband on. Thank you. we have that count, or, okay.
Oh, he didn't change his band. Yeah, he
He's got his
registered.
old band on, oh.
Put your glasses on.
Geneva, Geneva, poker. Okay, all of those against amending the agenda, same sign, raise your hand, showing the wristband if you do not want to amend the agenda. And we're only recognizing the orange wristbands. If you'd like to go sign in and get your orange, you can do that. They'll let you sign in yet. If you do not have an orange wristband on, your vote will not be recognized. Please sign in at this time to get your orange wristband.
Or if you're standing up. Don't mean we standing up, Peter. Move around.
Once again, if you're against amending the agenda, please raise your hand that has the wristband on it.
Get it. 0.
677 votes to amend the agenda, 0 against. So at this time, we will proceed on with the resolutions. He came up and told me. He came up and told me, so I know we're good. We're good. Good to go. Yes. Okay, Thank you. We've been scrolling the resolutions up on the screens for quite some time. You can follow along if you'd like to. These are resolutions that have been pending for at least the last 4 months. We have not had quorums in our CBC meetings, so we've not been able to move forward with a lot of these resolutions. And a lot of these resolutions pertain to our daily business and pertain to bank accounts. They have old signatures on them, and they need to be updated with current signatures. Also, we've had an account that was breached, and we need to close that account out and reopen a new one. So at this time, we will go through the resolutions. I'll give you the numbers. I'll tell you what they're about. You can follow with me up there on the screen. It'll have the resolution. Resolution 2216 it's a resolution to amend the property and procurement policy. Resolution 2316, it's appointing replacement representatives to the NIGA. Resolution 2416, approving the Comanche Nation Gaming Commission patron ban policies. Resolution 2516, approving the Comanche Nation Gaming Commission court claim policies. Resolution 2616 is to change the signature card designees. Resolution 2716 is to establish new operating accounts. Resolution 2816 is signatories on financial account. Resolution 2916 is to replace the roof at the Comanche Nation Museum. Resolution 3016 is the enrollment list, adding on the new Comanches to our enrollment list. Resolution 3116 is an application for Native American language preservation and maintenance. Resolution 3216 is an application for Native American language preservation and maintenance matching funds. Resolution 3316 is a grant for Family Violence Prevention and Service Act. Resolution 3416 is applying for a grant through Oklahoma District Attorney's Council Victims of Crime Act. Resolution 3516 is to establish a separate bank account for the funeral home. Resolution 3616 is FYI 2016 NAGPRA grant application, U.S. Department of Interior, National Park Service. Resolution 3716 is to retain the special legal counsel for the nation's forensic audit. And Resolution 3816 is for the special general counsel approval of the government to continue to function, giving us the authority to approve these resolutions. If there's any discussion, if not, make a motion.
Are you going to need a yes vote for all these resolutions?
We're going to do a for or against vote For will be to give us the authority to pass these resolutions. Against will be to not let us. It's as simple as that. As of right now, yes, ma'am. That's it. These have been on the books for quite some time, and they've got to get through. We've lost 2 grants already because we couldn't make the deadlines because we can't get these resolutions passed. So that's why we're bringing this to the people. We're asking you to give us the authority to go ahead and approve these grants so we can move on with business. And it's imperative, I can't stress the importance of us getting these checking accounts and these signatures squared away. We still have Will Owens on a lot of our accounts, as well as the previous chairman, and that needs to be changed.
I have a question. On the bottom of most of these resolutions, it has that it's being passed at the general council. Oh,
Flip that.
at the bottom of the resolutions, it says it's being passed by the general council. So are you asking us to vote on them all at the same time, or we vote on them individually?
No, ma'am, we're asking for you to vote on them. I've read them to you. If you have a question about an individual one, you're welcome to ask it. We'll address it to the best of our ability. But they're rolling right now. You
Okay.
can read them. They've been rolling ever since we came in.
All right, I don't know the number. I didn't write it down. But there's 2 of them that had putting Jerry Tashaquah as a designatee, as a signature. And I'd like to have him make a motion to amend those 2 resolutions to remove him as a signatory.
Okay?
I need a second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to remove Jerry Tashaquah from the specific resolutions that has his name. These are on the bank accounts. Yes, ma'am. We had a second by Mr. Burgess. And we'll call for the question. Anybody have a comment? Then we'll,
Can you hear me? We removed Coffey's signature, and he said that at page 3, where he, in the latest Comanche newspaper, where he tells how important and how great he is as a whatever he done. But in there, he says that he resigned because they took his check and writing authority away. That way, he couldn't buy any more votes. So that's a reason. But really, he resigned because of the forensic audit and the FBI investigation. That's the real reason.
okay.
We need to do the same thing with Tashaquah.
Acting Chairman Cothran, I got a question. I'm Mark Wadua, but what checking accounts were compromised and how much?
I don't know exactly how much. I do know from the information I got from our tribal administrator is evidently there was some type of sophisticated scam team out there that somehow got our routing number and got our checking account number and was writing checks on the Comanche tribe. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 2 of those people have been arrested, but according to our accountants, they recommended that we close that account out because it has caused a lot of trouble for the Comanche tribe. Some of the local vendors in town will not take our check now because of this. They don't know if it's really us doing it or if it's this scam ring that's doing it, because they're still out there. And recently, a check was posted on Facebook, and it had another check routing number on it and account number on it, and that's compromised that account. So it's imperative, like I said before, that we have got to change these accounts out, and the only way we can do that is with this vote. Hopefully by then, Ms. McDaniel, you'll have an operating CBC. They can deal with it then. This resolution is only in effect until we get a quorum and it'll die. It states it right there in the last paragraph. It's only effective until we get a working CBC.
I call for the question.
Go ahead, Mr. Tipiconi.
I have two questions. I'd like to know from what fund the museum would get a roofing done, and the other is why a separate account for the funeral home?
Okay. Thank you. Did we have a,
You have a second?
we have a second on your motion? Who made the second? Mr. White Wolf made the second. The motion is to remove Jerry Toshaqua from the accounts, bank accounts. We have a second on that. We'll just do the same vote again, if that's okay. Just a hand vote. All those in favor of removing Jerry Toshaqua from these resolutions as a signer, raise your right hand or raise the hand that has the wristband on it. Please sit down if you want your vote to count. Please sit down if you want your vote to count. Orange wristbands, please. Orange wristbands. Well, don't count them. They don't want to sit down. Please sit down if you want your vote to count, please. Jimmy needs to put that microphone. Jimmy needs to
Okay, yeah,
put that
put your hands
microphone
down.
above him so he can talk. Jimmy.
What about that one that's there now? Oh.
Those opposed, same sign. Wristband. $184 to remove Jerry Toshaqua as assignee on these bank accounts. 0 against. We'll adjust those amendments to reflect this.
On this certification you
resolutions.
have up here, does that also remove his name off of the certifications that we have to submit to the BIA? The certification?
Yes, sir, it will. He's not
But we'll
going to
take his name
attest.
off.
No, that's why we're here. He will
Good.
not convene with us to sign these. So we've had no choice but to come here and do this.
Good.
So one of these gentlemen up here will be an attester or testee.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Thank you. We'll have to get it to you. I don't know them off the top of my head. Thank you. Okay. A motion to, well, if somebody will make a motion. Okay.
Doesn't she have the motion on the floor?
At this time, we'd like to go ahead and see if someone will make a motion or if we can entertain the idea to
Oh,
move
maybe
forward
not.
with these resolutions. Mr. Tipicani?
No, she shouldn't, but I thought somebody else did it. It was wrong, so, okay.
Yes, I raised the two questions about where does the money come from to fund the roofing at the museum, and also why the separate account for the funeral home?
The money, now, I'm going to have to ask Mr. Atterbury to answer about the roofing. I know, but I'd rather have his expertise because he's been part of that more than I have.
Hello, testing. Can you hear me?
No.
The money for the, okay, so we have a 99-year lease on the museum. And so it has a roof that needs to be replaced in the city of Lawton. We have to go, since we're their tenant, we have to go with their contractor. So the funding is going to come from capital improvement, which is supposed to be working on our properties that we own collectively, not individual properties. Half of it will come from capital improvement, and then half of it actually will come from a maintenance line item within the museum's budget itself. So we did get our bids according to our policies, but the city kind of has us over a rail because we're their tenants. So they have contractors that we have to utilize in order to be able to get that roof repaired. So that's where that'll come from.
And what I understand then, there is monies in capital improvement.
There is.
And then the funeral home? Thank you.
Okay.
Well, the funeral home, the reason we're going to do a separate account, and Mr. Atterbury can elaborate, but it's to establish a new account so we know what kind of revenue our funeral home's making. Right now, it just goes into one big pot, and this way, when we separate it, since it's one of our ventures that we do see some sort of revenue from, we'll have an idea of what they're doing there.
And I would imagine, I want to raise the question so we all understand, but I imagine it's also so that those monies can't be moved away and do other things. They're spent for the funeral home.
Correct. Correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just had a question. There's how many resolutions?
There was 14, I think.
14. There's a lot of information in those resolutions. I really don't feel comfortable with approving a blanket vote to approve all the resolutions, not really knowing what's contained in them.
That's your opinion.
It'd been nice to have copies of each of these.
Well, we've been running these for the past 2 hours, so that's why 500 copies was hard to do, and usually they wind up in the floor, so we thought this was a better avenue to have all these screens up and from there. But you're welcome to ask any questions, and if you'd like to come up here and look at it, you're welcome to do so.
Well, it's just the improper way to do business, I think. 'Cause the people came out here to listen to business, to conduct business, and I don't think anyone can vote on a strolling resolution, I mean, you know, you have to
If you
be
have a
pretty quick
question about
reader.
anyone, ask about it. We'll put it up there and we'll answer your question.
Yeah, well, if I knew, of course, we don't, each one of them's not strolling at the same time.
I-
So it's just difficult to
You want
vote.
me to reread them again?
Well, I think we just need to go by resolution, so we'll know what we're voting on. That's,
I
you
can
know.
do that. I can do that.
Thank you.
I want to clarify one thing.
Yes, sir.
Gene Pica. If we're leasing, isn't that the landlord's responsibility to fix that roof since we're paying rent on the museum?
That's what you would assume, but unfortunately, it's not that way. I
How
don't
is
know
it?
what kind of lease we got into, but since
Yeah.
we are responsible for the maintenance on that building.
And paying rent?
Yes, sir. Well, I don't know about paying rent.
No, we don't pay rent, but we're
We don't pay
responsible
rent?
for the maintenance.
No,
of the
we're just
building.
responsible for the maintenance of it.
Okay, all right.
Yes, Mr. Burgess?
I'd like to make a suggestion that
Yes, sir.
perhaps you take all of these resolutions, put like resolutions together so we can look at them in smaller groups and approve them in smaller groups,
Okay.
similar to what we just did earlier. That might help a lot of folks to get this business done.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We'll start with Resolution 3716. This one is very, very important. Resolution 3716. Whereas the Business Committee hereby determines that special legal counsel should assist the nation and its business committee in that audit, and that now therefore be resolved that Mr. Gaydon Dean Luthi Jr. is hereby retained to serve as special legal counsel to the nation and its business committee in connection with the forensic audit. The reason I'm having to do this, or we're having to do this, is because Mr. McBride has done nothing, not one thing, to help us with this forensic audit. He's not questioned it. He's never even called me to ask me about this. And I mentioned this several times in CBC meetings, that this man here stepped up and helped out without charging the Comanche people one dime to help us get the forensic audit started, because someone gave me his name and said that he might be able to help us. And he did step up. So what I'm asking for, or what we're asking for in this resolution, is to give him the authority to continue to help us with this forensic audit, because we have to have an attorney involved with this forensic audit. We cannot just leave it up to the CBC, because I can't promise you what would happen to the forensic audit. It's liable to get thrown in a trash can and you'll never know where your Comanche dollars went. So this is imperative that we pass Resolution 3716. It's right here. Yes, I make a motion, yes. Okay,
He seconds it.
yes. It's going to be only by the work that he does. It's not going to be like a regular stipend that he gets all the time. It's just to help with this. Not at this time. No, we're not. But he should get paid because he stepped up and helped us when nobody else would. So I have a motion on the floor, or a second, to accept Resolution 3716.
We might let everybody know, too, that this forensic audit has been going on for 3 weeks this coming Monday. So it's already started. This is just an addition, so we could get the legal advice from this lawyer.
Well, it's just not about the legal advice. This is also, the importance of this is if and when a guilty party is found in this forensic audit, instead of turning it over to the CBC, because we have no idea who's going to be sitting here, instead of turning this forensic audit over to potential people that may, like I said, throw it in a trash can, act like they never saw it before. I mean, we've had resolutions disappear because they say they never saw them. What will happen, this attorney here will automatically be aware of what the findings are in this forensic audit. He, in turn, will turn everything over to the proper authorities, Attorney General, FBI, or whoever it needs to go to, depending on the criminal basis. That's what this is. We have a motion on the floor, second. All those in favor of this forensic audit, raise your hand with the band on it, please. Yes, ma'am. Do a hand count, or do you want to do ballot? Okay. To do a ballot? Let's do individual. Do you have enough? Okay. Okay. We're going to do it by ballot so we can have an accurate record of it. I'm sorry.
Make a motion. Take a motion.
Well, you could, yeah. I'll let Sandra explain it.
Originally, when the chairperson wanted to do this vote all at once, to vote on all 13 resolutions at once, so we created a ballot that says for or against all 13. But anticipating individuals having an issue with, you may agree with 5 of them, you may not agree with 3 of them. So it's very difficult sometimes to, vote on one ballot for everything. So we created a ballot that has a space for all 13 resolutions that you can vote for or against individually. That way, if you want to vote for 10 of them and you're not the other 3, you have that opportunity. Because, as who was it that spoke? They may not, it gives you a better choice. So that's what I'm presenting to you, is that you can have this ballot that has your ability to make individual choice on each resolution. We'll hand them out to you. As you go through the resolutions, you can mark them for or against. And then at the end, when we're done going through the resolutions, we'll do the count. What we want to avoid is the hand count, because when we do it by a ballot, it's more accurate, less room for error. And the people have said they prefer doing a ballot because of the secrecy also. You may not want your neighbor to know how you're voting. So we don't want to intimidate anybody by, having to vote amongst everybody.
Okay.
So that's where we are now.
Okay, hang on a minute, hang on. If you'd rather do a hand count on each resolution, we'll do that. Whatever you want to do, it's up to the people. If you'd rather do a hand count, that's what we'll do. If you'd rather get up and vote by ballot, that's what we'll do. So how many of you would like to vote by hand? Raise your right hand with your band.
Clickers.
Acting Chairman, I'm Mark Wadua. I would suggest a hand count, because we're going to have to listen to every discussion on everything, and we'll forget by the time we do the ballots. So let's go one by one.
They can get up here and work. Yeah.
think about the grants. How many grants you got here? You got one grant here.
Well, y'all
Two,
help out. Grab a pen and start
three.
messing with it.
4.
Grab a pen.
Susan, would you, as a courtesy to us, would you prompt the counters to let us know when we can put our hands down? 'Cause
All right. Did y'all hear that? Okay. All those against, please, same sign, wristband.
Oh, no. This will be your number 2, I think. Number 2.
Those three there and one. Eight to do the hand count, 20 against. So we will do hand counts. Yes, ma'am. 120 to do hand count. Okay. Are we going to do this one? We
Yeah,
didn't-
do that first.
I just did. You need to make a motion on it, Clyde. We got to have a motion.
Got it. Let me see.
Goodness.
I'd like to make a motion for Resolution 37-16, resolution to retain special legal counsel for the nation's forensic audit. Do I have a second?
Who seconded that motion? Okay. We have a motion on the floor to accept Resolution 3716, seconded by Phyllis Narcomi. And that's to retain Dean Luthi for the attorney on the forensic audit. Counters, are we ready? All those in favor, raise your hand with the band on it, please. I guess we're done. Just do the resolutions. All those against Resolution 3716, raise your hand with the wristband, please.
That's Jonathan. I don't even see that resolution until 3816.
You may not have it.
Oh, I didn't look here.
Quick second, so you might remind them that it's like, you know, this quorum, I just asked what our number was, I said 248, but those votes don't reflect very much on the 20.
A 166-4, retaining Dean Luthi as our attorney on the forensic audit, and 1 against. Thank you. We appreciate that very much. That was 3716. separate numbers. Mr. Komachi?
I've got a question for the business committee here. We just voted to retain this legal firm, or this gentleman. What we were told was that he, up to this point, has been acting on a voluntary basis. Well, I'm glad he did.
Me
I
too.
commend that.
Yes.
But at this point, where we retain him, are we voting to retain him on a voluntary basis, or are we going to pay him? Nothing's been said about any
Well,
type of
this is
payment.
to pay him. He's done free service all this time. It's
Well,
time for him.
What are we going to pay
I
him?
don't know exactly what he'll get paid. He will do work accordingly. Nobody can give you an in advance pay. He's only going to get paid by the work he does. He's not our lawyer. We'll vote on a full lawyer in April. He's only helping with the forensic audit. Yes.
Well, I don't know. So we're just kind of opening up our books to pay him when he turns an invoice in.
Well, we can publish it if you want us to, or we can let you know, or I can get the amount of what he's going to charge for each thing and put it on our website or whatever. That way everybody will know. Because I can't say at this very moment because he hasn't done nothing for us.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody would appreciate that.
Okay, sure will. Make a note. Okay. Next, we will address resolutions, and this has to do with the signature cards. And I'm going to group 4 of them together because they're all to do with the signature cards and operating accounts. They're all to do with our banking accounts. That's Resolution 2616, 2716, 2816, and 3516. 2616 is to change the signature card designees. Minus Jerry Tashaqua's signature. But all this is to remove Wallace Coffey and Will Owens from the signature cards designee and also from the safety deposit box number. Now therefore it be further resolved that the Comanche Business Committee hereby adds the following names as the signature card designees for Liberty National Bank safety deposit box. Susan Cothran, it was Jerry, we'll remove him, and Jimmy Otterberry. That is Resolution 2616. Resolution 2716 is to establish new operating accounts. Whereas the Comanche Business Committee desires to establish a new banking account at Liberty National Bank for tribal operations funds, closing the existing operating account after all existing transactions have cleared. Authorized signers for this account are Susan Cothran, Jerry Toshaqua minus, and Jimmy Otterberry. Now therefore it be resolved that the Comanche Business Committee hereby authorizes an account for program funds to be established at Liberty National Bank, gives a number, but I will not repeat it, account number to be determined. This is closing out that account that I told you that got breached. That's Resolution 2716. Resolution 2816 is signatories on financial account. Whereas the Comanche Business Committee has determined that it is in the best interest of the Comanche Nation to identify officials who currently have signatory authority for the Comanche Nation accounts at the financial institutions listed below. And it just lists the accounts that we have and the people that are on those accounts. And once again, there are some people on these accounts that need to be removed. And we will again remove Jerry Toshaqua. That's Resolution 2816.
I make a motion that we approve these 3 resolutions.
And there's one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This just hit one more to deal with our banking. Yes, ma'am. And the Resolution 3516 is to establish that separate bank account for the funeral home. And as it was discussed earlier, that's just to make sure that we can see what kind of profit our funeral home is making. And that is Resolution 3516. That's all the resolutions there are to deal with our banking. I'm sorry.
I make a motion we approve these 4 resolutions.
Call for the question.
The idea was stated back there that if you're going to add names, remove names and add them, it's more than your name. Shouldn't there be 2 CBC members or?
Mr. Otterberry is who I said.
My suggestion is in order to protect Mr. Otterberry, and Jimmy, don't take this personally, because as a TA, I refused to sign checks when I was TA.
Okay.
Because those authorities lie within the scope of some grants at a certain threshold, and then as the TA, the threshold was higher, and then when I was chairman, the CBC did not want me to sign off, but I was able to convince them that there has to be 2 out of 3 people signing these checks at a threshold of $2,000 or $2,500 or more, so the CBC is aware of all these expenditures. Because at one point in time, we had checks and things being signed at less than $1,000 when the total cost of an effort or the cost of the whole project was in excess of $15,000, and I brought that forward. And those were being signed by a TA.
Okay.
So there's ways that they manipulate these, and we don't want our TA getting caught up in that, because you're doing a good job.
Yes, he
It
is.
should be 2 of you because you're the executive officer.
Well, there was Jerry. We just now removed him, so we'll replace him with maybe Clyde Narcomi or, yes.
Yeah.
Or,
So 2 of the 3 here, all 3 of you should be on a card, but 2 of you, it takes 2 of you to sign off on that until we get a quorum.
yes, sir.
Functioning CBC. This is a recommendation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Maggie.
I just request that the deposits of gaming distributions be addressed in Resolution 2716 so that business can continue.
Yes, ma'am. You had asked me to make sure that we put, direct the gaming board to make deposits into this new account, established working account. Yes, ma'am. I've
Okay.
got a note of that. Yes. Thank you, Maggie. We have a motion on the floor to accept these bank accounts or the changes that we just read or I read. Do I have a second? Mr. Poway, thank you, appreciate it. We have a second, call for the question. All those in favor? Raise your hand. Band, please show your band. Please be seated when we take the vote, please. It makes it easier for the counters. Would appreciate it. Thank you.
What's going to be the next most important?
I'm just going to group these top ones here. I'm just going to go down and group them. Okay. Four at a time. And then when I get done, then I'll split that one. All those that are against the resolutions that were read, raise your hand. Same sign, wristband. Sandra, could you come here for a minute, please? There were 179 for those resolutions and 1 against. Oh, 0, sorry. 0 against. Thank you, we appreciate it. Okay, thank you. The next resolutions is Resolution 2216. It's amending the property and procurement procedure policy. It's changing it from 3,000 to 3,500 for quote purposes. And this is only, we're having to change it only because the guideline has changed from the federal guidelines. So it's gone from 3,000 to 3,500. And this is for bids. If we go out to purchase furniture or whatever, office for whatever. We used to could do 3,000, now it's 3,500. If it's anything over 3,500, then we have to put out 3 bids at that time. So this is a federal guideline that has changed on us. We need to change our policy to be in compliance with the federal guidelines. That's what Resolution 2216 is about.
And that's basically what it says. Whereas the Comanche Nation Business Committee hereby amends the property and procurement policy section, purchasing categories and methods. Purchases will be categorized as follows. Purchases with a total aggregate cost of less than $3,500. Small purchases include purchases with a total aggregate cost of at least $3,500, but less than the simplified acquisition threshold as described in Appendix E. And that's, like I said, changing it from $3,000 to $3,500. Now therefore be resolved that the Comanche Business Committee hereby enacts the following Comanche Nation property and procurement policies and procedures and repeals any other previously enacted tribal property procurement laws or policies in their entity. That's Resolution 2216. I'm going to put 4 together. Resolution 2316. This is appointing replacement representatives to NIGA. Whereas the CBC has decided to replace the individuals previously appointed as the nation's representatives to NIGA. Now therefore it be resolved that the Comanche Business Committee hereby appoints Dan Bigby Jr., Chairman of the Comanche Nation Entertainment Board of Directors, and as the nation's representative to NIGA, with Peggy Pattyacre, Vice Chair of the Comanche Nation Entertainment Board of Directors, as the alternate, and these appointments shall remain in effect until December 31st, 2016, or until the CBC appoints replacements. That's Resolution 2316. Resolution 2416, approving the Comanche Nation Gaming Commission patron ban policy. Whereas the Comanche CBC Committee is duly elected official, originated to conduct business for on behalf of the nation pursuant to Article 7C of the nation's Constitution. Whereas the CBC has received and reviewed the proposed Comanche Nation patron ban policy. Now therefore it be resolved that the Comanche Business Committee approves the Comanche Nation Gaming Commission patron ban policies. And the last one is Resolution 2516, approving the Comanche Nation Gaming Commission tort claim policies. Whereas the CBC has received and reviewed the proposed Comanche Nation tort claim policies, now therefore it be resolved that the Comanche Business Committee approves the Comanche Nation Gaming Commission tort claim policies. That's Resolution 2516. Any discussion?
Who is Mr. Bigby and Mrs. Pattyacre replacing?
I really don't know. Where is Dan?
They're here.
Okay, I understand. Right now, as our membership is stated with NIGA, the two representatives are Mr. Wallace Coffey and Ms. Sonia Navakoya. And since they are no longer in an official capacity with the tribe, talking with the current CBC, it was agreed that the representatives should come from the gaming board, and I suggested that those be named by office rather than by name. Currently, because we are in those offices, we are the name that goes on there.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
I have a question about the court, the tort claims.
Hang on, Dan, does that,
Regarding the tort claims, you know anything about the tort claims? I haven't read the policy myself in the past. Does this give a line up with state law, or do we have a comprehensive tort law that we passed in the past by the tribal council or by the CBC? Does anybody know?
I'm not 100% sure.
Does this provide a limit, maximum, like $100,000, $500,000 lawsuit or something like that? It's
I'm not
it's civil law,
100% sure on that. Do you know, Dan, what, is Maggie here?
Actually, Mark, how's that? Is that better? Okay. These are changes and proposals made by the Gaming Commission, not the Gaming Board. It's my understanding that it's simply a matter of cleaning up the language so we're in compliance with the state compacts and that sort of thing. So honestly, I cannot speak to what the commission has proposed.
One last question. Is it possible to see the compact language one of these days? Could it be exhibited someplace?
I believe that's public documents that are posted on the Oklahoma state websites. Because they're public, anybody can go look at them.
Okay, thank you.
I want to talk about that property procurement manual. I'm kind of off the subject here. I mean, well, I don't know if anybody else wants to talk about the gaming thing, or what was it now? Oh, replacing whoever, Wallace Coffee off of gaming. Well, anyway, this is about property and procurement policies and procedures. Well, I'm not going to make no kind of motion. I just want to, when we get our CBC running again, you know, when we get a quorum and after the annual meeting, we need to put in that policy termination if no bids, you know, for sole source contracts, because we're tired of this Jake Sharp's contracts, you know. I don't know how much money millions we paid him extra. But anyway, that would put a stop to that, you know. And then also detail procedures on getting rid of surplus property, because we got a line of cars up there, you know, unbudgeted expenses. You know, Wallace Coffee's Cadillac and Willie Owens' SUV. There's a long limousine somewhere, but we got a lot of surplus vehicles, and one's in Hawaii. So I don't know about that one. Maybe, you know, Craig listed or something. I don't know. Bids, raffle it off. But we need detailed procedures in our manual, and also periodical inventory so that we can keep up with all the equipment, machinery, tools, computers. You know, I believe we're missing a lot of stuff. But anyway, this will prevent all that. I don't know, every 6 months at a certain value, I don't know, over 1,000, 500, whatever. But we need to do that to our policy. I get mixed up. Well, procurement manual. And then we can go a step further. We could put fines and, you know, jail time in there. That's another idea. But anyway, I just thought I'd present that so we could do that in the future, you know, when we get going again. Thank you.
Yeah, I think somebody's seen that car he's talking about on Hawaii 5-0 the other night. Also, just for everybody needs to know on this banning deal, our Secretary of Treasury, he got banned twice from our own Comanche Casino. Twice now. Jerry Toshko got banned twice. That's for y'all, just for your information.
I just also wanted to address the limousine. We still have it. We gave it back to the funeral home. That's where it initially came from. They brought it up here with the Johnny Depp thing, and it was just sitting here. So the funeral home took it back, and they've cleaned it up, and they're using it as their second vehicle. Just wanted y'all to know we didn't sell it. Call for the question. Any more discussion? Oh, I thought somebody, okay. Okay, I thought you did. Okay. Okay. We have a motion made by Phyllis Narcomi. We have a second. Beverly Isaacs, second that motion. Call for the vote to approve these resolutions 2216, 2316, 2416, and 2516. Raise your hand for a yes vote. Raise your hand with your wristband. Please have a seat for your vote to count. Thank you.
Grant's going to be next.
Yeah, yes. All those against, please raise your hand with the armband. Thank you. 151 in favor of the resolutions and 1 against. Thank you. We appreciate it. Please stay around because we have a few more to pass. We're getting close to losing our quorum. We please ask you to stay.
What's the next?
We're going to address the grant resolutions. Oh, I'm sorry. You haven't. We did the again. Okay. Okay. These are for the grants. Resolution 3616 is for the NAGPRA grant. Resolution 3416 is applying for a grant through the Oklahoma District Attorney's Council Victims of Crime Act. Resolution 3316 is a grant for Family Violence Prevention and Service Act. And then we're also going to ask for Resolution 3216, application for Native American language, preservation and maintenance matching funds. Resolution 3116, application for Native American language, preservation and maintenance. Any discussion?
Need a motion?
We're applying for grants. Yes, we have to have we have to have resolutions to send with these grants. You can't just apply out of thin air. That's what these are for, is to let us apply for these grants. We have a motion to accept these application for grants. Do we have a second? Second by Phyllis Narcomi. Let's call for the vote. Everyone in favor of the resolutions that were read for the grants, please raise your right hand with the armband showing. Please sit down so your vote can be counted. Thank you.
Against.
All those against the resolutions, please do the same sign, right hand or whatever hand your band is on. Please be seated. A 184 for the resolutions and 0 against. Thank you. We only have 3 left, and we'll get through this. Resolution 2916 is for the replacement of the roof at the Comanche Nation Museum. Resolution 3016 is the enrollment list to add new Comanches to the roll. And Resolution 3816 is for the Special General Counsel approve to the government to continue the function with this resolution, giving us the authority to sign these resolutions. That's all that's left. Those are the 3 resolutions that are pending.
I make a motion that we approve these resolutions.
You know, I see 3816 giving the authorities, you know, to act on these resolutions by the council giving it to the CBC here. But I also feel that we need to expand that resolution to say that in the future, these resolutions, because they include names and such positions, that they can be amended by the CBC, not coming back to the council, because these resolutions now are becoming the council resolutions. So we need the authority or some inclusion of that additional authority to say the CBC can in the future, you know, amend or change or correct and not have to come back to the council.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr.
These
Brown.
resolutions are in effect until such time you get a full CBC for a quorum, correct?
Yes, sir.
At that time, you would not have to come back to tribal council. The resolution states that these are temporary action until such time we have a full CBC acting,
Correct.
seated. Once we have a full CBC, this resolution is null and void.
Yes, sir.
So we don't need to come back to tribal council. However, I'm not finished. The resolution says when there's a full CBC, resolution coming to tribal council is over with. It's null and void. They won't have to come back to us because the CBC is full. We have members that will take care of business.
Right.
However, my statement to the CBC and to the tribal council at this time, when I assumed office in 2009, there was no record of any tribal council resolutions. I would like to amend your resolution to state that from this day forward, there's always a resolution book of tribal council resolutions so that the CBC cannot come back and override tribal council. I bring that up because of the problem we had with the CIP. It's Comanche Improvement Program, or the Capital Improvement Projects. That was a motion made on this floor in 2006 and 7 by tribal council. 2008, CBC had a resolution in their books that said they approved the CIP and it only took the CBC to change and spend all that money the way they wanted to. So for those of you who were fortunate enough to get help with your homes, your private homes, and our complex is falling apart, the oldest building here is rat infested and the electrical lines need to be repaired. It's not up to code, even federal codes, which is the least codes that you can follow. Our buildings here need to be improved. We should stop looking like, you know, warehousing out here. We should have nicer buildings than this. So that kind of resolution, the CIP resolution, was made on this floor, and the CBC came back and redid it so they could approve over $2 million to spend the way they wanted to. That cannot happen. We are the tribal council. We should have our book of resolutions from this day forward.
Yes, sir. Yes, I agree.
As Mr. Burgess has explained, that's correct. It's in the written documents now that we have approved to state, as he is stating, this is only interim, temporary, and that once there's a full legal CBC, that they're just dropped, right?
Yes, sir. I can read the last part.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay. Be it further resolved that the Comanche Nation Supreme Governing Body, the Tribal Council, hereby approves the current working business committee to approve resolutions, and when the Comanche Nation has a full working business committee with a quorum being present, this resolution will be null and void at that time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you make a motion?
Resolution for the capital improvement program also stated that any monies that were voted down would go into that fund. But until it's managed correctly, I would rather that not happen. I would like to see it go into a rainy day fund that we would have to come back in general council to, you know, offer whatever we want to do with those funds, not into there. So if programs get voted down this year, I would like to revive the rainy day fund and make it very difficult to get into those funds. That way we could do anything with those monies. If we wanted to build a brand new administration building, our own clinics, we could do that. We wasted enough money, we could have already done that. So that would be my suggestion.
Good idea.
That's what it was originally intended for the upkeep of this complex up here.
So,
but our past leaders seen it another way to just get money out to the contractors. So it originally should have been for this complex here for improvement. That's what it's originally stated for.
Yeah. And somehow we got off track because when I was tribal administrator back in 2007, I made the capital improvement program give me a budget and priorities on how we were going to spend those monies. I don't think it's done now, but we have to stop the overspending and create the rainy day fund. Somehow we need to include that. I would like to create another resolution that we revive the rainy day fund, look at those resolutions, and any monies voted down go into the rainy day fund for the future of our tribe.
Okay. Okay.
If you look in these books that Mr. Burgess is saying we should keep on the record on the council, you will see that we had a rainy day fund resolution passed, and we were to put $1 million in that each year from our budget. So if you look back into the record, you're going to see there is an established rainy day, resolution passed by the council to effect that and put it in place, and it's still standing. But there's no money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to it.
All the more reason for the forensic audit.
So, Madam Chair, are you desiring to consider my amendment to that resolution on the funding, that first resolution? I don't remember the number.
Which one, did you write it down? I didn't write the resolution.
Gene, do you remember the number on which one it was?
What was,
That resolution where the capital improvement funds? It was, I think it was the first of the three or first of the four.
there wasn't anything on capital improvement funds.
Well, we're talking about some funding.
It was a museum roof.
You guys got here because of the secretary treasurer that never mentioned.
I know.
Okay, this should be coming up at annual meetings that are happening. Okay, so let's go on with the motion. You got it set. Let's go on.
You're getting tired. I know it. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to accept Resolution 2916, 3016, 3816. Did
Call
we
for
have?
the question.
We had a second by Mr. Poway. Call for the vote to approve these resolutions. Please raise your right hand for these resolutions. Show your wristband, please.
Madam Chair, you mind if I speak a minute? Okay, 1 minute. You know, we're gathered here today because we had a secretary-treasurer that could not actually make a legal quorum for the business committee to conduct business. It's a sad day when our nation cannot move forward on elected leaders not coming to do their duty. Now, like Mr. Tipicani was saying, and like Mr. Burgess was saying, what we agree on is the law. You know why? We're the supreme governing body. What we vote on here is the supreme law. I'm going to take the time to read this. I'm not going to grandstand, but there's an injustice that every Comanche needs to hear. Article 10, Bill of Rights. Section 3, the individual vested property rights of any member of the Comanche Nation, which shall include restricted lands and income therefrom, as well as personal property, shall not be altered, abridged, or otherwise affected by the provision of this Constitution. What does that mean? Any of us that have individual trust land, no elected official can bother it. Today, March 19th, I, William Nelson, being an enrolled Comanche member, make this yes or no motion that the Comanche General Tribal Council assembled in legal quorum revoke the tobacco compact with Jake Sharp and Lance Eichner. The Business Committee of Past did alter, abridged, and affected vested property rights and income owned by an enrolled Comanche elder, Laureen Cowino Bowen. May this motion call for the Tax Commission to issue revocation of this tobacco compact no later than 3/21/2016, this Monday. at the East Gore Smoke Shop, AKA Chief's Smoking Ice House, with their tobacco ending up front. This property will be restored back to enrolled Comanche elder Lorene Cowino Bowen no later than April 1st, 2016, with all building effects inside and outside intact and 100% operational. All utilities will be paid up and in working order. The eviction and inspection will be conducted by CNLE, Comanche Nation Law Enforcement, under the direction of Police Chief Vern Griffin. I call for the second of this motion.
We still have a vote right now, I'm sorry. Okay. No, we've got to vote no yet on that first one. We haven't done that yet, Willie. Okay. All those in favor of no, against Resolution 2916, 3016, 3816, please raise your hand. Against.
Being carried away.
Got all messed up. I think he thought we were done. We're done. That was the last one. There was a vote of 176 for the resolutions to pass and 0 against. So we're done with our resolutions. Thank you, Comanches, for helping us. Discussion of FY proposed budget. I think this was my copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Following his, I guess
What I just read to you guys, it is a motion. And the thing is, we can't allow any of our elected people to abridge our Constitution. We can't sit there and allow any elected official to go to our individual trust land and tell us who, what, where, what we can do with it, unless we sell it to the tribe. Now, this has been going on for a while. And what's so sad, most of the misappropriations deals back to this one guy. Now, this elected committee up here, the ones sitting here, they voted to remove this guy. But the people that are gone from here, they voted to rescind that motion. So I'm asking you, Supreme Governing Body, remove this man, Lorene Cowino Bowen. She's been sickly. It has caused her some ill health. It has caused her family a lot of, it's just harmful. And I can't believe it happened. So I do call for the second of this motion. Well, wait a minute. Are you the chair of this meeting? No, I'm not. Okay, be quiet. This is the chairwoman of this meeting. Okay, there you go.
He's done it. Boy,
Madam Chair, if the tribal council wants to amend that agenda, then I would suggest.
Again?
Yeah,
Yeah,
again.
we'll have to amend the agenda again because it should have been discussion of the proposed budget first and then other business. So I don't disregard what Mr. Nelson said, but we need to, yes.
And so if you want
So-
to do that, and then I'll bring back the CIP project and the budget line items that Mr. Peak and I are talking about.
Okay. We need to amend our agenda once again to other business, and then we'll put budget discussions last.
I so move to amend the agenda to include the smoke shop issue.
All right. We have a motion on the floor to amend the agenda to other business. Norman, are you amending to move other business? That's what we have to do. Yeah, yes. We're going to do other business. Norman, would you rephrase that to make the motion to amend the agenda to other business, so that way we could include what Mr. Nelson said?
I so move to amend the agenda to other business.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Got a second from Mr. Burgess. Call for the vote to amend the agenda. Raise your right hand or whatever hand your wristband's on. Thank you.
Call for the no now.
Okay. All the no votes, please raise your hand. Same sign. 153 for amending the agenda and 0 against.
God bless you, Comanches. General Council motion, number 0319-01. The Comanche General Tribal Council assembled in legal quorum today. Revoked the tobacco compact with Jake Sharp and Lance Eichner. The Business Committee of past did alter, abridged, and affected vested property rights and income owned by an enrolled Comanche elder, Laureen Cowino Bowen. May this motion call for the Tax Commission to issue revocation of this tobacco compact no later than 3/21/2016, this Monday, at the East Gore Smoke Shop, aka Chief's Smokin' Ice House. This property will be restored back to enrolled Comanche elder Laureen Bowen no later than April 1st, 2016, with all building effects inside and outside intact and 100% operational. All utilities will be paid up and in working order. The eviction and inspection will be conducted by Comanche Nation law enforcement under the direction of Police Chief Vern Griffin. I call for the second of this motion.
We have a, we'll call for the, his phone's disturbing me. Call for the question. We're going to take a vote on Special General Council Motion 0319-01. Any discussion? Are you seconding it? Okay, Mr. White Wolf, second the motion. Sorry. We'll call for the vote. Okay, we need to check our quorum. We've had a lot of people just leave, so be patient. We got to do a quorum count. Do you want us to raise our hands, or what do you want us to do? Just sit still? Just show your wristband, please. They need to be seated. We've been saying that the whole meeting. Be seated. They're seated. Go like this. Well, that's what you're accusing me of, too. Well, we need to talk about it. Well, you better sit down and... What is it? Okay. We still got a quorum. Okay, we had a motion on the floor. Had a second. Let's call for the vote on Special Council Motion 0319-01. Hand in the air with your wristband on, please. They go when they ask them, I guess.
Good ass Sandra when she comes back up here.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we're about to wind it up.
Do you have another copy? You got another copy? Can I have it?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a issue I'd like to bring up pertaining to this situation. Come Monday, when this action is taken, there's no doubt in my mind, and there shouldn't be any doubt in anybody else's mind, that there's going to be legal representation needed by us as a nation. This Jake Sharp is going to turn around and he's going to sue us, which I understand he's already suing us.
Yes, we already have lawsuits against us now,
But-
especially Clyde and I.
Pertaining to this situation, we need to have legal representation ready to take this fight on as well. I'm all for our people getting our land back and Miss Bowen getting her land back. This should have been done a long time ago. But the fact is that he's going to sue us again, and we're going to need representation. That's what I was just talking to them about. Maybe we need to talk. We've already authorized one legal representative.
Yes.
Maybe we need to authorize him to carry on until the next month's
General Council.
meeting.
Yes,
So that's something we need to consider.
yes, because I wouldn't trust Crow and Dunleavy to help us.
Good point,
They've
Billy
gone-
Comanche.
They've gone against us.
You know what, people? We got sued. We got sued by some past LLCs. Cornell Tatternapper, should we have paid these lawsuits? No, not a penny. You know, I don't know where we have gotten so scared of our sovereignty. Our sovereignty is right here. This land is allotted Comanche land. Old man Charlie Pocaro land, and here us Comanches are. We are sovereign with our lands. We cannot be afraid of these people. I told these guys, let him file anything on you. What court can he go to? None. Not none. Never, ever, ever underestimate your sovereignty. Ever.
can we need to call for the no vote, just for the record. We need the no vote. All those wanting to vote no on this motion, please raise your right hand with your wristband showing. Thank you. The vote is 159 for the motion, 0 against. Now, this is other business. Other business.
Earlier,
All right.
earlier, we were talking about capital improvements and the resolution that created that any monies voted down would go into capital improvements. Well, if we manage $2 million, say, that's in this budget for capital improvements, what I would like to do is make a motion that any monies that don't get past the budget or voted down go into a rainy day fund. And these rainy day funds be protected, that they cannot be used without a general council resolution, a meeting that would call for a special meeting. So that is my motion, that we take any monies that don't pass the budget, go into a rainy day fund, and it requires a special council meeting to release those funds.
In other words, any line item that don't pass.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Madam Chair and CBC, I second that.
Call for the question.
All right. We have a motion for any monies that's voted down on the budget to go into the rainy day fund. We had a second by Mr. Burgess. Sure?
But further, it requires special council meeting to
There you
release
go.
those funds.
Okay, all right.
It's just like what Mr. Tipicani said. The tribal council had passed a resolution for a rainy day fund, but where did that money go? We don't know. It just vanished in thin air. I think that what we need to do is designate exactly where that money's going to go and what it's going to be spent for, rather than it just being put somewhere to where it's just going to vanish in thin air, no matter whether we have a tribal council resolution or not, because that's what we had before, and it didn't work for us then, and I don't think it's going to work for us now.
Madam Chair, that's why we designate rainy day fund, since the CIP project was convoluted and destroyed by past actions. And the rainy day fund should still be standing. It also has a resolution. However, we've got a motion on the floor and a second. I call for the question and then come back forward with a new motion about how the tribal council, as we said, tribal council in our motion is the only ones who can approve that.
Yes,
So
right.
it is designated, it is safeguarded. It takes tribal council vote. After we pass this resolution, it takes a special called meeting to approve the use of those funds for something we approve. Simple.
Okay. Well, maybe we could put that on, when we do our budget, maybe we could show that rainy day fund. You know, show what money's in there. We can always, I mean, we'll do it as long as we're here, but you know, we'll show you where your money's at. Yes, that's right. Yep. I guess, well, maybe since he says special council meeting to use the money, I don't know.
Well, things are changing with our tribal government.
I think
The
so.
money that's been overspent in the past, that's not going to happen in the future. We cannot allow this to happen again.
We still got that standing resolution, you know, that money goes into, that's not approved, goes into the Jake Sharp's budget. Well, he's gone now, but the committee improvement, yeah, it goes in there. We still got that standing resolution. But my main concern is that the money that gets in, well, call it rainy day fund, if we put it in there, then I want it to be used for a forensic audit budget. But we can do that later in the future, you know, like a regular annual meeting, you know, put more money into the forensic audit budget. Because right now the forensic audit is covering 4 areas, but there's 55 that's suspected. So, and then we need to go further back, like whatever the statutes of limitations is, like 7 years instead of 3. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's Conide, there's the Smoke Shop Corporation. You know, there's no telling. You know, we had people going ape. You know, but we need to. You probably need to do something. You know, beef up our forensic audit budget or.
I'm not going ape. Earlier, when I discussed this idea of the monies, the funds going into the rainy day fund, and you brought up the fact that this report, this audit, it brought to mind the subject matter that Mr. Tahawa and I did back in 2002. We got the tribal council to approve the 20% funds to go into an investment fund. So we've never got a report back on what that investment fund has earned. And Mr. Tipicani, the time we were in office, did you ever give us a report? I don't recall. I asked about it several times. There was the 20% fund was to be invested into like a savings account or CDs. We never did get a financial statement on that from the banks. Over 6 years, huh? From 2002 to 2009, it wasn't earning anything. So in a way, what I'm saying is this report should come back, and it's up to this tribal council. Now that we're speaking as tribal council, we've passed these motions and resolutions, there should be another designated time to come back, a special council, to report to the people what these funds have earned.
Okay.
Therefore, I've always said we need to have more than one council a year. We should have two.
I agree.
Election areas and budget areas. That way we don't have these long days.
Yes.
So just letting you know that these monies are going to be protected, and with people such as you all who can step forward and be honest and straightforward, we don't have to worry about that. Thank you.
I'm sorry, but I've been asked that we do a quorum count. We need to do a quorum count. Just hold for a minute. Yes, we need a quorum count. Sorry. Raise your hand up so they can get us.
They already counted it.
Oh, they counted us?
I'd like to pass along some information here you guys might be interested in. Since our Secretary Treasurer has been on board since 2014, we got sworn in the same time. Jerry Toshikoa and myself, was 2014 of June. Now here's a report from Finley and Cook for the period ending September the 30th, 2015. So that's a year, for 1 year now. We're only 13 million overspent. Since the Secretary of Treasury, he's supposed to be taking care of our money. He's in charge of our money. And these figures don't lie. So to me, he's not doing a very good job of a Secretary of Treasury. Also, he's supposed to be taking care of the all these minutes, all the resolutions. They're supposed to go up to the Bureau of Indian Affairs at Anadarko. I ain't never heard of Jerry Toshikoa at Anadarko. So in other words, he hasn't even took one resolution up there. Now, that's the kind of Secretary of Treasury we got. Last General Council we had, April of last year, well, the Chief of Police got called. The county laws had him stopped somewhere on Fort Sill Boulevard or Rogers Lane. And they had to confiscate his car and bring him back to the complex. Now that's, if he runs for office again, just remember what I'm telling you guys. 13 million in the hole, got barred twice from our casinos.
Okay.
We have a
quorum of 152. Let's take a vote. Motion for the monies voted down on the budget to go into a rainy day fund, special council meeting to disperse those funds.
I know, right? That would be cool.
It'll have to be assigned. I was going to tell them these resolutions that we're doing here are special general council resolutions. They have a different number. Mhm.
Not yet.
Yeah, we
not
got to
yet.
vote no. Let us get that done while we.
Would everybody like to hear how much our past TA was overspent over the past 5 years? Raise your hand. Just a little over 24 million, that's all, overspent. All these line items that we're voting on next month, that's overspent. That cut services to all you people out there that come up and ask for help because it was overspent by our past TA, Will Owens. In other words, known as Will Dog.
We're ready for the no vote. All those opposed to Resolution 0319-01, raise your hand. Armband showing, please.
What's this?
Oh, it's raising.
This is a no vote.
It's a no vote. I was raising it.
Well, Mr. Nelson had his own motion, but he gave it to, let's see, he called it motion 03-1901. Where's my grandbaby's daddy? Sent it to you. Let's what ask the election chairperson when she comes by. Maybe she's addressing it.
We have 134 for and 0 against. We had some people abstain. So it passes.
Sandra, we need clarification. We need clarification on that.
Other business. Other business.
The other business that I want to go over is the Comanche Tribal Constitution as approved by the Secretary of Interior is the key instrument for our credible self-governance. Comanche Nation elected officials under oath must abide by the tribal constitution in order to ensure for credible self-governance. We must have credible self-governance in order to safeguard the rights, powers, and privileges for the common well-being of the Comanche Nation and its members. The current tribal constitution is clear that no family member as spouse, father, mother, sister, brother, son, or daughter of a member of the CBC shall be employed with the Comanche tribal government. As Secretary-Treasurer, Jerry Tashiqua is in violation, and committee member Harry Mithalo is in violation and have abused their authority and refused to comply with the Comanche Tribal Constitution, Article 15, nepotism, by approving payments to their family members for illegal employment with the tribe. If CBC family members are to be employed with the tribe, that CBC member cannot continue to hold office. Nepotism is an abuse of authority which gives CBC family members an unfair advantage over everyone else in this tribe. So therefore, I make the motion that the Tribal Council shall uphold and defend the Comanche Tribal Constitution, and that Jerry Tashiqua and Harry Mithalo shall forfeit their office for violations of the Comanche Tribal Constitution, Article 15, regarding nepotism, and for unauthorized payments to their family members for illegal employment with the tribal government from the time each of them was elected. So these people need to be gone. We don't need a petition for their recall. We just need today to vote that they forfeit their office. Thank you. I call for a second.
You know, these people don't need me to defend them, but I defend our Constitution. There's only one way you can get get these people out legitimately, and I advocate using our Constitution method. So I think that maybe Eleanor's heart's in the right spot. Her interest is, I know, but the Constitution tells you how to get rid of them.
They are in violation of the Constitution, and so they should be removed by this body right here. No, it's not.
Is this,
We're upholding and defending the Constitution.
is this for other business right now?
No, this is on what Eleanor made a motion, and this is, I guess, comment. Oh, who seconded it? Oh, I'm sorry. I missed you. I'm sorry. What's your name? She can't hear you. What is it?
This is concerning the water tower and sewer lagoon.
We can't do that right now. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all I
You
need
can
to
do that
know.
after we're done with this one.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted
Okay.
to know.
That's all right. That's all right.
I just want to speak regarding Mr. Jerry Tosquall and talk to the people. I remember when Mr. Tosquall was elected and he won the majority of the votes in that election. And then after he was determined the winner, the protest period occurred thereafter. And at that time, Susan Cothran, Roderick White Wolf, and Clyde Narcombe presented to the election board chairman felony charges. And therefore, at that point, he should have been ineligible to serve based upon the Constitution's wording. No felony can hold office. Ms. Gallegos chose to not take this issue to the election board. Instead, she by herself made that decision to go ahead and accept Mr. Jerry as being eligible to serve on the CBC. So, in my opinion, and I don't know how many of you believe the way I do, Mr. Tosquall has never been eligible to serve on the CBC because of a felony. And for that reason, Eleanor, I agree that we can recall Jerry Tosquall because not only has he a felony, but at the same time he has brought disrepute on this tribe. He has caused embarrassment to this tribe, and you know what I'm talking about. And he's been continuing in his position because politically he's been protected by the previous chairman. And now that he's gone, we need to set the record straight and be rid of Jerry Tosquall today. And I make that motion, I amend the motion to you, Eleanor, to include Jerry Tosquall, that we vote to remove him today.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a motion on the floor, and we've got a second. Okay. We need to go on with this vote. I'm sorry. You're going to have to wait, Gabby. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. We have a motion on the floor and a second to ask or to remove Jerry Tashikwa, Harry Maithalo from their seats, forfeit their seats because of nepotism, illegal employment, and payments to their families. That's the motion. We had a second already, so we're going to call for the vote. Everybody in favor? Are we ready, counters? Oh. My arm's getting tired. Clyde and his little grandson. All the no votes, raise your hand. No votes, raise your hand. Please be seated so your vote will count.
We have to have a quorum. We need a quorum count. This vote only garnered 110 votes, so please sit down and raise your arm so we can get an accurate count of who's in the building. Please. Cassandra.
I know.
Oh,
I hate to miss.
good.
It's like the one thing that we missed.
Did you hear that? That way they know for sure. That's
I
good.
missed the question.
What's higher and what's lower, which one do they go with?
The average of that.
Push your button. How much? She needs to make a correction on that last resolution number.
No quorum? Motion dies for a lack of a quorum. We have 124 people. And, okay, on resolution 031901, that pertains to Willie Nelson's motion on Laureen Bowen's land. I made a mistake, I'm sorry. And the last resolution, you will have to assign a number to it, but that was for the motion for the monies that is voted down on the budget to go into the rainy day fund, special council meeting to disperse those funds. It passed by 134, and there were, so, I think, what, 20-something abstentions and 0 against. So that's the difference.
So this one passed, right?
What? What? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Yes, they both passed. Yeah.
Amen.
We do not have a quorum at this time.
Mr. Naito, Officer Naito, could you assist me, please? Just an FYI, my name is Sandra Gallegos, and I'm the chairperson of the election board. And as a chairperson, per Robert's Rules of Order, I do not vote unless there's a tie. Anyone that was on the ballot last year for any position, whether it was CBC or the election board, passed the background check and did not have any felony. I cannot, what happens when we get the background checks, we vote on them individually, the whole board. We look at them and we vote on them. And if there's a felony, of course, we vote it down. Even if they pass the background check, we vote to accept them. That's the procedure. So every one of them, candidates, are voted on. Okay, the recommendation then is sent to the CBC. These individuals do not qualify because they have felonies. These individuals qualify because they passed the background checks per the Comanche Nation Police Department. So we also incorporated a new form last year, which everybody that wanted to run for a position, it was a notarized statement that says not only, what your name is, your age, it says that you have no relatives that work, per the Constitution, you have no relatives that work within the tribal government. And these individuals that ran signed that. Everyone that was on the ballot signed that authorized statement. So that was a legitimate, that's a legal document. So at that point, because there's 13 of us on the board, and we knew some people were related to other people, we had personal knowledge of they had a sister working here or a brother working there or that type of thing. The individuals running that we were aware of personally that had nepotism,
we wrote a letter and sent it to the CBC. These people, even though they qualify, pass the background check, they are possibly in the violation of the nepotism clause because they have a brother that, or son that works here or a daughter that works there. At that point, it's up to the CBC because per the Constitution, the CBC qualifies the candidates. They give us the authority to do the background checks, to do the authority to run the election process. But when it comes to qualifying, then we give it to them. It's up to them to vote on it. Now, we have never heard what the outcome was. But apparently they decided by whatever means the individuals were still seated. So, but it's not up to the election board to qualify that part. They vote on it, they do that. And they give it back to the election board and say, yes, we clear these people and they're candidates. Regarding the reason I asked for Mr. Naido's assistance is that, like I said, the Comanche Nation Police Department, this year it was Officer Griffin, Chief of Police, did the background check. It's a state background check and it's a federal FBI background check throughout the United States. So I wanted Mr. Naido to address that. If you would, please, sir.
Okay, this is going to be pertaining to Jerry Toshaqua. He is not a convicted felon. He was charged with a felony for DUI in Oklahoma County. After going before the judge said put him on probation, 90 days, 2 months, whatever it was. Basically telling Jerry Toshaqua, if you get into any more trouble and while you're on probation, then you will be charged with this DUI felony. Mr. Toshaqua kept his nose clean for his probation period, and his felony DUI was deferred. Deferred does not mean he's guilty. He was not convicted for a felony DUI. Driving under the influence, that's drunk driving, Beverly. He was not convicted in a court of law, Beverly Isaac. Anyway, that was his first DUI. On his second DUI, basically his lawyer went before the judge, paid his fine, did his probation, and again, it was dropped to a misdemeanor. So, Jerry Toshaqua is not a convicted felon, so that leaves he can still be in office legally, even though he may not be in office right now. So that's all I have to say. He is not a convicted felon.
Thank you, Mr. Naido. Make a motion to adjourn.
Since we have no quorum, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Need a second?
I second it.
We have a motion to adjourn the meeting today. Thank you. Thank you for coming. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
April the Saturday's got a meeting. The first Saturday of April is got a meeting. Okay. Get lined up. Getting closer. It's getting closer.
Get this roller to be a billionaire.
Yeah, that's right.
Making the strike and doing it, from taking all this, helps you sell the strike.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like I said, there's so many factors. Like I said, that's why I gave you those circles. Over control, solvent, steel,
Okay, we'll be there.
Keep up the good work. Like I said,
All right.
you just gotta see like you need paint on you, you know?
I know it.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what I was before and after. Yes,
My daughters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, we all need to hang in there. Will, you can take my place. Oh. I don't even want to touch it.